Please start, please start, please start. Yes.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, and yes, we are on the Golf GTI back in the workshop this week, and it is a horrible week for weather, so the car is literally covered in tree crap, you name it. It has been sat under a tree for a couple of weeks. So if you do hear any wind noise from the doors, rain, can't avoid it, so unfortunately we'll have to put up with it, so apologies in advance for that. But as you can see, it's just covered. But we have the Golf GTI back in the workshop, and in today's video, guys, we will be fitting a new clutch. This is an RTS clutch, which is rated to hold around 450 feet of torque, which is about what the torque I expect to be seeing from the build once it's complete. What else are we going to do? We've got some dynamic mirror indicators to fit as well. I might have something for the steering wheel to do, depending on whether I have time in this video. And we're also going to, once we fit the clutch, we're going to do a slave cylinder and a release bearing as well. And there's also a mod you can do with the clutch delay valve. I'm going to remove it, so hopefully it just gives us that little bit quicker. I mean, I don't really know, I don't know what to expect, but it is a little modification you can do. You can remove a clutch delay valve, which is, I believe, at the end of the slave cylinder, and that might just sharpen things up a little bit. I don't know, but we'll give it a go. So we're going to do that, and then once that's all done, I have got it booked in for an MOT in 2 days' time. So I've kind of given myself a bit of a deadline to get all this done, and then we will get some draggy times with the new clutch, and then a completely stock car. We'll get some like 0 to 60. I'll try and do a quarter mile, and I'll try and do like a 1 to 200 run as well, obviously on a private airfield. So yeah, should be a pretty good video today, guys. So as always, thank you very much for watching, and if you do enjoy these types of videos and you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe for more videos on the Golf. I have my turbo, I have my full turbo back exhaust. I've also got, turning up tomorrow, an intercooler, intake, and some other bits as well, guys. So yeah, we are kind of full steam ahead on the Golf GTI build. So we've already got it in the workshop, so let's crack on. And yeah, let's go. Right, I'm just going to talk you through quickly what I'm going to be doing today, and we are replacing the clutch, release bearing and the slave cylinder. Now, I have the under tray and wheel arch liner already off. I never fitted them because I knew I'd be changing the clutch, so I left them off. But there will just be a wheel arch liner here I would remove, and an under tray which kind of goes around the bottom of the engine and gearbox, so they would be removed. And it's a pretty simple job. You could probably do it in an hour and a half. It's probably going to take me more like 3 hours with the filming, etc. Maybe a little bit more, but it'll be a simple case of this wishbone. So wheel off, both wheels off, both front wheels off, wishbones, both front wishbones off. Remove these nuts here, which pulls the wishbone off the hub, and that means you'll be able to get your drive shaft out. So remove your drive shaft bolt, and then you've got 5 or 6 M10 on this. Yep, M10 bolts here. Drive shaft out. Same on this side. This one's going to be a little bit more tricky, and I don't actually think I've done a car, because this has got the electronic limited slip diff, because it's a performance pack. And it actually just looks like quite a big unit. It's a bit like the Quattro units. So I don't know if I'm going to have to remove the diff on this to be able to get the gearbox out, or maybe just unbolt the subframe and drop it back a bit. I don't know yet, haven't done one, but I'll find out very soon. So yeah, this drive shaft removed as well. And then we have a couple of bolts at the bottom. We've got a dog bone mount. We've got a dog bone mount here, remove that completely. We've got a couple of bolts here. We've got a bolt for the bottom of the start motor, one at the top as well. Remove the starter motor. We've got a couple of electrical switches. We have a reverse switch and a gear position sensor. So know what gear you're in. Got a boost hose here, which I will remove just to make things a little bit easier, get it out of the way. And that is pretty much all we've got to do downstairs. Now upstairs we'll have to remove battery, etc. Intake, but I will talk you through that when we're up there. Right, so just off that time lapse, just quick recap of what I've done. Pretty much everything I've said I've done. Drive shafts are all out, both of them, wheels off. What is going to be quite tricky is the dust cover or the drive shaft cover for this drive shaft was a bit of a pain to get to. It needed a really long extension, which I had down there. But you can see the bottom of the downpipe here as well. I mean, look at the cat, it's massive, look. It's a bit shame that I'm not going to be changing turbo downpipe while I'm doing all this. It would make a lot of sense. But for the purpose of figures and facts, I shall do the clutch only today and waste my time putting things back together to take them apart again. However, that is a separate video. So, as you can see here, this diff is actually quite big. I'm pretty sure it's the same size as a Quattro unit. So, what would happen is, on a Quattro, you could see where that little bolt hole there is. That would pretty much where the prop shaft will bolt to here. And it is maybe a tiny bit smaller, but it ain't much smaller at all. So it's probably just going to be just as tricky to remove. So what I've done is I've unbolted the subframe. I prefer doing that, it's easier. I've unbolted it. It is hanging on by 2 bolts at the minute, but the idea is that when I'm ready to get the gearbox out, I'll just remove the last bolt and I'll actually just use the ramp and a ratchet strap just to pull the subframe back about 2 inches, which will be enough to get my gearbox down and out without any problems. So, as I say, that is everything done. Hose is undone, starter motor at the bolt at the bottom done, clips off, so everything is good to go at the bottom. So now, let's jump to the top, and I'll show you what we've got to do upstairs. Right, I've just done a quick mod with the indicators as well. My mirror indicator on the offside didn't work when I got the car. Obviously, that's going to be an MOT fail. So I was looking at a replacement LED mirror indicator, and I think they were looking at like 15, 20 quid for a second-hand genuine part. You could probably get a cheap pattern part for about a tenner. However, I saw these dynamic indicators for, I think it's about £25 for the pair. So I thought, bugger it, they look better, so we'll give it a go. So that's the near side, which I haven't changed yet, which is just your standard indicator. I have just fitted the offside one, and as you can see, actually, it's a lot brighter as well, actually, than the OEM unit. But it is now dynamic. I mean, make of it of you will. Looks pretty cool, and it is actually a lot brighter than the OEM one on the near side. So happy with that. Works spot on. So I've just got to change the other side, and then that is done, and then we should be pretty much MOT legal. Yeah, I think so. So under the bonnet, what we're going to have to do is, we may not have to move this, I'm not sure yet, but we have an intake airbox to remove, so we'll have to remove this, possibly the inlet hose as well if it gets in the way. We'll have to remove the battery and the battery tray. And then we've got some goodies under here to remove. Top of the starter motor bolts, we can remove the starter motor. And then we've got our clutch slave cylinder in there as well with our clutch delay valve, which we're going to be modifying. So let's get stripping this. Right, so there we go, there's most things, well, everything actually removed from the top of the engine now. So as I've said, battery tray, starter motor I've just removed and just placed up here out the way. I've undone 2 gearbox bolts, which are roughly, or about here. We've got a gear linkage cable up here, which I've just, again, hooked up out the way. I've removed our clutch line and put it in an old glove and just held it as high as possible so it doesn't leak. What else have we got? I think that was about it, and obviously I've just loosened up all these bolts. They're easy to get undone. So what we need to do now is I'm going to put it back up in the air. I'm going to pull the subframe towards the back so it gives us maximum room. I've then got to support the engine with an axle stand, which is what I'll do, and then I'll get a ladder and I'll remove these last few bolts because I'll have my engine stand in there as well holding the gearbox up. Remove those 3 bolts there and the gearbox mount as well, and then hopefully the gearbox should just flop out onto my gearbox stand and then we can remove it. Job done. So that is the gearbox all out and on my stand. I've just removed the slave cylinder, which is down on the floor somewhere. It looks okay, but I am going to replace it anyway for the sake of, I think it's about 45 quid for a new slave. And we also did have some problems with it releasing, the clutch releasing, so it might be something to do with the slave or the clutch delay valve or the clutch. So I'm going to replace, if in doubt, renew throughout. We'll go with that. So we'll put a new one on there anyway, because then it's done. I mean, doesn't look too bad in there. It's pretty standard really for a Bellhausen. So onto the flywheel. Now I didn't order a flywheel because I didn't know the state of the clutch when I bought the car. Obviously, for all I knew, it could have had a new flywheel and clutch fitted last week. So I thought I'd hold off until I'd removed it to have a look. And as we can see here, so the actual flywheel is in okay condition. So when you move a flywheel, you'll be able to rotate it slightly like that, and then it's got like bump stops each side, which basically take up the vibration. So when you're pushing down on the clutch, it doesn't feel really jerky. So that's actually fine, but as you can see, there's quite a lot of heat spots on the flywheel. And it is actually, if I feel it, it's quite worn. It's warped. I don't know if you can probably see it on the camera actually, it's quite warped, the flywheel. So that is obviously no good. It is recommended obviously when you replace a clutch that you put a new flywheel in it as well. And in this case, that is pretty bad. So I have just ordered a Sax genuine flywheel, but from a Golf R. Slightly different to the GTI. I think it's just ever so slightly stronger. So I've ordered a Golf R Sax flywheel to go with my uprated clutch. Down here you can see, look. So this is the standard clutch that I've just taken out. It wasn't that badly worn, it's not horrendous. But obviously you can just see where it slipped. So again, it's quite badly warped and isn't great. You can just see all the heat spots. So could have been someone resting their foot on the clutch. Could have been quite a few. I mean, that's probably the main reason, someone resting their foot on the clutch. Or it could have been the fact that the slave wasn't releasing properly, and that has caused this as well. So there's a few various factors why it's done that. But we are replacing both, so that's fine. And here's the new one. So we've got an uprated, it's just a twin friction. So you can see, look, got paddles on this side and normal on this side. And this is rated for up to 450 feet of torque, which is about what I expect to see from the engine when it's all back together, mapped with all the mods. So this should just about handle what we're doing. So I've actually ordered the Golf R Sax Flywheel from Euro Car Parts. It was about 280 quid, I think it was, which is about £500 cheaper than I could get it from Volkswagen. So again, another absolute rip-off from the main dealers. But there we go, that'll be here tomorrow, which means I'm obviously going to have to pause proceedings for today. So I'll catch you in a second with a new flywheel. Right, this nice little DMF here is the reason you're probably watching this video 2 days later than I had wanted. Now, this has taken over 2 days to turn up, 2 days later than it should have as well. So we have a new dual mass flywheel here, and weirdly as well, genuine dual mass flywheel and clutch are both Sax, but the genuine slave is an LUK, and that is from the factory as well, which is a bit odd. So I have just replaced it like for like. I've gone for another LUK slave cylinder. So just a like for like. I don't think that was our issue, but no harm if in doubt. Replace throughout, and also we know that now everything clutch wise to do with the transmission or the link between the gearbox and the engine, everything's been replaced, so therefore we should have no issues with that area. So having a quick look, no problems with our rear main seal, that's not leaking or anything like that. So what I'm now going to do is put everything back together, and I'm going to try and get this gearbox back in on my own. So this could be quite funny watching. I'll put it on a time lapse so you can watch me probably spend about 2 hours trying to get this back in on my own, but we'll give it a go, and yeah, we'll get it all back together and start her up. And actually, before I do that, I have some forge parts to fit. So I've got a short shift for the gearbox, so we'll install that. Basically just makes the throw shorter for when I'm putting it into gears. And I've also got a dog bone mount insert as well, which just stiffens everything up so the engine doesn't move backwards or forwards too much. I am going to fit those while we've got everything out and while it's up in the air as well. So yeah, I'll get everything back here. I'll do as much as I can on time lapse. Any problems, I'll chime in and give you an update. I've just finished putting together drive shaft, gearbox, mounts, so all that is back in, subframes all back on. Sorry, there's been about 3 days between the last time I actually filmed anything, being very busy with work. So I've just kind of jumped back in. So yeah, everything is put back together downstairs. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to fit my Forge quick shifter. Forge Motorsport have kindly helped out massively with lots of parts on the Golf, with intercooler, intake, quick shifter. I've got a dog bone mount insert as well they've helped out with, and I'm sure there's something else that I've forgotten as well. But for the moment we are going to fit the quick shifter because as I say, it's not a performance enhancing modification. However, it will help me essentially change gear quicker. And also the dog bone mount, which I've fitted, which I will show you in a bit, is just an insert that goes into the bottom gearbox mount, and it just helps stop the engine and gearbox moving forwards and backwards like this under load. So it just helps basically keep the engine and gearbox stiffer and firm, especially during gear changes as well. Slight downside can be a little bit more vibration through the car, but it is what it is. But we are fitting this, so we have our gear selector here, look. So you've got like neutral, that's neutral, and you go down the gears that way, and then you got kind of middle for third and fourth, and then all the way down for sixth. Well, actually no, it's all the way down for reverse. I'm not too sure which is which, if I'm honest. Up for 1 and 2, I think, or it might be I'm guessing it's, no, I don't even know, but anyway, that are the gears. I've just fully fitted the quick shifter now on both parts. It's just a bit easier to explain now it's all fitted. So basically you can see there's adjustable points here and here, both where the gear linkages go, and the idea is that the closer that this gear linkage goes to the center is how short your throw would be. So when you put it into gear, how far it's got to travel so it's fully in gear. So that being closer to the center will just shorten the throw. I haven't put it fully in, but I've kind of put it mostly in, but I've left it a little bit out just to test it to see what it's like. This one, same again, but this one is for sideways movement, so obviously going over to 1 and or over to 5, it shortens that distance. Again, I've done the same thing. I haven't put it all the way down, but I have done it most of the way just to test it. I mean, you can just mess around with this and adjust it as much as you like, obviously, because they're adjustable. Now, to set up your gear linkage, because we've had the gearbox out, so it may not be in the exact same position, so you need to adjust your gear linkage cables. And to do that, you have to first of all lock the gearbox. So there's this little tag down here. You just press the center spigot down and press it, this little tab in here, which locks the gearbox. And then to reset your gear linkage cables, this is the bits that we're adjusting. Normally they do that, so they are now in a locked position, but to adjust them, you literally just pull it back like I had it to twist. Oh, pull it back, twist, and that is now in the adjusting position. Same with this one, and you also need to make sure your gear knob is in the center position. And actually Forge do give you a little tool here which it basically locks your gear knob in the center position. There's 2 little locating lugs. Press it in, and that is my gear stick locked in middle. And my gearbox is locked as well. My gear shift cables are in the neutral position for adjusting. Everything is fine, so all I've got to do now is literally just twist to the right, which unlocks them. And there we go. They are now locked into their new positions, and now everything should be sweet. Right, I've just bled the clutch with my little pressurized system here, so to be fair, I lost quite a lot of brake fluid, clutch fluid when I was changing the clutch anyway, which isn't a bad thing because it was completely black, so it was due a change. So what I've done is I've filled it up with new fluid, pressurized the system. I've bled all 4 brakes a little bit as well to get the new brake fluid through and get the air out. And I've also bled the clutch, so it's basically it's the same as the braking system. There's a little nipple there, just crack it off, let it flow through, tighten it up, and then I've pumped the clutch 15, 20 times until I've got my feeling back. And then I've just pressurized it up again, just cracked it off again, just any couple more seconds, anything else that might be in there, nip it back up again, and now the clutch is sweet. So that's done. So now I just need to test, make sure all the gears go in. I know it's going to be difficult with the engine off because it won't be as smooth. However, we should get a nice feeling whether it's going to go into all the gears, etc. Right, so just put clutch is good. Right, so yeah, doesn't go into 1 all the time. However, it just might because the engine's off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll tell you what, that feels quite nice actually. I can definitely feel the difference. That feels quite nice. It's going to be quite hard to tell until we're driving it, but that felt quite good. Right, so that is now the gearbox all in and gear linkage all set up, clutch all bled, etc. All I've got to do now is just put the intake back on and the battery tray and the battery, and then we are, obviously the wheels as well, and then we are good to go for a little road test. I did say I was going to do some 0 to 60s, but I'm probably not going to. Obviously new clutch, it needs to bed in a little bit. Last thing I want to do is obviously start wheel spinning and ruining it. So let's be honest, 0 to 60s in a front wheel drive car aren't going to improve massively anyway. So what I'll probably do is just maybe a 20 to 70 or a 100 to 200. Right, so I've literally just pulled out and we are mobile. I did have to just quickly adjust first gear because it wasn't still going in properly, but a quick adjustment and they are now fine. So I have my draggy. We are going to just go for a little. Clutch feels fine. It feels factory, to be fair. No, it doesn't feel any heavier than a stock clutch. The thing I've noticed straight away is the gearbox is, yep, the shorter throws, left, right, forward and back. I can feel they are shorter. They are probably about where I'd want them, to be fair, because anything too short and it probably might feel like you're not putting it into gear, but no, that feels good. So really happy with that. The only thing I can feel is the dog bone mount that just stiffens up the front back movement of the engine. You can just feel the vibrations a little bit, like when you're pulling away you can feel it vibrate a little bit more, but it should enhance the way it drives. So it's nothing that major, to be fair. Quite happily live with it. It doesn't affect it while I'm driving like this, for example, so that is fine. So we are just going to get to a point in the road on my private airfield where I can do, hopefully I've got my draggy, a 20 to 70 and a 60 to, well, 100 to 200. Not trim as possible. And let's go. Some flat spots in the old rev range. Got my couple of reports back. I did a 20 to 70 and a 100 to 200, and I don't know about the 20 to 70, but the 100 to 200 definitely felt horrible. It was just like, it took forever, and top end, I mean, I'll put the graphs up now for them, especially the 100 to 200, but you can see that towards the end of it, it just tailed off the power. It just felt like it took forever to get there. And I've had a quick Google because I don't know what the stock times are, and I've seen a couple of places posting stock times for a Mark 7 GTI of around 18 seconds for a 100 to 200. I don't know if that's DSG or manual. However, I am 5 seconds off that, so gearbox definitely won't play into it that much. So there's definitely some sort of issue, whether the turbo's on its way out. It did feel like like held back a bit in places. So I mean, I've got some new coil packs, some new spark plugs coming as well. And obviously when we get the car tuned, they will health check the injectors and stuff like that. We'll fit additional injectors. We've got turbo, we've got loads of stuff coming that's going to get fitted to the car. There's no error codes. I've plugged in VAGCOM. There's no fault codes for the engine, so hopefully maybe coils and spark plugs are possibly the problem. I'm not too sure at this moment in time. All I know is that, yeah, it's definitely not as quick as it should be. So anyway, we've got some base times. So in the next video, guys, we will be fitting the front mount intercooler and also a full intake system as well. And I'm hopefully going to have the spark plugs and coil packs to fit, so at least we can rule those out. And then I'll probably go for another sort of draggy times to try and see if we can improve on those at all. I might knock out the 100 to 200 just because it is a bit of ag to get, and the private runway is quite far away. So I might try and do like a 60 to 100 instead and try and get some times of that. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. And if you do enjoy these types of videos and you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content on the Golf GTI. Yeah, so the modification is obviously starting now. So first stage, clutch is in, got some base figures which aren't too great, so we can address those in the next video, maybe look into it a little bit and start adding some more parts. So, and get that time from 23, I want to halve it at least. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.